of the Commonwealth versus John Miller as jurors in this case. In just a few moments, the attorneys are going to present to you their opening statements. What the attorneys say to you is not evidence, but their opening statement is intended to guide you, to show you what they believe the evidence will present. Who's giving the opening statement for the Commonwealth?
I will.
Go ahead, Mr. Byers.
Thank you. Unlocked, unarmed, unjustified. Life for the Quest family will never be the same. On February 14th, the early morning, their son was gunned down in the backyard of the townhouse where they all lived. This case is about that early morning. This case is about a man, a neighbor, an overzealous neighbor who decided to unlock his closed door and engage, confront a man who he felt was a threat. A man who was unarmed, a man that posed him no threat at all. And he unjustifiably shot the man. Not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 6. I'm Juan Baez, and I am the prosecutor in this case. Along with me is Kate Robinson. Together we represent the Commonwealth. Around 2:30 in the morning of February 14th, William Quest, also known as Billy, arrived home. He lives in the basement of his parents' townhouse. In that basement, there is no bathroom. So at some point, around 4:30 in the morning, between 4 and 4:30 in the morning, he decided he needed to use the bathroom. So what did he do? He opened the door and went to the wooded area and relieved himself. On the way back, he was trying to open the door. He couldn't open it. It was locked. Tried it. Still struggling a little. Then the lights come on and a man emerges, pointing a gun. He's standing behind. The man is behind the door, pointing the gun at him. The man yells, "What are you doing?" Billy walks away. The man decided then that he's going to bend down, take the security bar that's holding the door shut, lift it, unlock the door, and pursue him. So he yells at him, "Stop! Put your hands up!" Did it twice. Billy turned around, puts his hands up. Then he tells him, "Lie down on the floor." Billy doesn't do that. He turns around, clenching his hands, moves towards him. As he's doing that, John Miller, the defendant here, moves back into his apartment, his basement apartment. At some point, Billy takes 1 foot in. John yells, "Stop." Billy stops. John Miller, with this gun, shoots the man. Once, twice. Billy runs away. John goes after him. Another shot. Another shot. Billy falls on the floor, probably to his back. Then John, again, while he's on the floor, lying there. 1 more shot, and then the final shot, the 6th shot. Justice for the for the Quest family may come today. And throughout this trial, we're going to put on evidence. We're going to hear from the coroner, from the detective, and they're going to explain to you the sequence of events. They're also going to present to you the evidence, the penetrating shots that ultimately ended Billy's life. There was no justification. The Quest family no longer has a son. And later on, when my co-counsel, Kate Robinson, comes up here, she's going to ask you to render a guilty verdict. A guilty verdict is not going to bring back Billy to his parents, but it will provide justice. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Baez. For the defense?
Good morning. Ladies and gentlemen, without your family, tomorrow would not be worth the wait, and yesterday would not be worth remembering. My name is Yvette Saka. I represent Mr. John Miller along with co-counsel Leon Good. Mr. Miller is a hero. He is a two-time Vietnam veteran. He was a corpsman for the hospital, and he was also a corpsman for the Marine Reconnaissance Unit. His job in the military was to protect and serve, and he sacrificed his life on 2 different opportunities in the military. That translates into his family life. He's also a protector of his family and also his home. Imagine, you go to bed February 13th at 11 o'clock at night, and you're awakened at 4:30 in the morning to an alarm going off. You go downstairs and realize it's the basement door. So he checked, and that's when he discovered that there was someone downstairs. He ran upstairs and told his wife, call 911. And then he went back downstairs into the basement and realized there was a very large person trying to open the door. He had no way of knowing how many people were outside. Could have been several people lying in wait. It could have been someone who had a weapon that was outside the home. He had no way of knowing, because when he clicked on the light in the basement, he could not see what was in the backyard other than a person that was upside the door trying to pull it open. So what did he do? He went and he did get a gun from upstairs. But when he went to get the gun, he didn't load around in the chamber. He brought it to scare the person. He didn't go down there to shoot anyone, because if he had, there would have been a bullet in the chamber, and there wasn't. So he went downstairs, and because he was concerned about who that could possibly be, he was going to minimize what was a threat to not only himself, but his family. So he opened the door. And at that point, he told the individual, get down and put your hands where I can see them. The individual did get down, but he didn't put his hands where he could see them. In fact, he then got up and started walking towards Mr. Miller, okay? He was walking towards him, and he backed him into the home. He backed Mr. Miller back into his basement. At that point, Mr. Miller told him, stop, twice, and he did it. At this point, Mr. Miller was concerned. He was frightened for his life, and at this point, he was concerned what could happen to his family that was upstairs, a 10-year-old little girl and his wife. Mr. Miller, although a hero, is a shadow of the man he once was. He's 64 years old. He's had triple bypass surgery, and he couldn't afford to get into a physical altercation with a man that was 6'2" and 300 pounds. So his only option at that point was self-defense, to shoot the person that was a threat to not only himself, but to his family that was sleeping upstairs. At this point, he tried to shoot, but there was no round in the chamber, because his intention was not to kill anyone. It was to protect or scare off, because most people, if you have a gun, they're going to leave. But not this gentleman. He kept coming. So Mr. Miller told him to stop twice, and at some point he cocked the gun and he shot at Mr. Quest. And because he clicked into self-preservation and self-defense mode, he started shooting, and he shot until the threat was over. However, at the same time, Mr. Quest was walking out, so he really had no way of knowing if, in fact, this man was really injured. So what he did, he continued to shoot, and then, in fact, yes, he did. He wound up dying in the process. But this was an act of self-defense, plain and simple. And so we ask, ladies and gentlemen, that you would listen to all the evidence that's going to be presented, including the fact that Mr. Miller's wife, you'll hear testimony from Mr. Miller's wife that will tell you that she has an ex-husband who threatened to kill both her and her mother on the same anniversary day of this break-in. Mr. Miller had no way of knowing if on this day this was the ex-husband coming to make good on this threat. He had no way of knowing who that individual was outside the home. So we ask, ladies and gentlemen, once you listen to all the evidence, that you would come back with a verdict of not guilty. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Saflov. Commonwealth, please call your first witness.
Yes, Your Honor. We will be calling the detective. Let me just get him for a second.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name for the record.
Detective Mark Keenan.
You may proceed.
Good morning, Mr. Detective Keaton.
Good morning.
Could you please tell the jury your occupation?
I am a homicide detective.
And how long have you been a homicide detective for?
I've been a police officer for 21 years, and a detective for 15 of those 21, and a homicide detective for 5 of those 21.
And who is your current employer?
Center County District Attorney's Office.
Okay. And would you please tell the jury why you're here today?
I'm here related to a call that we had on Brown Court.
Okay. And can you tell us what was the call about?
It was on February 14th, about 5:05 in the morning. I got called to 1249 Brown Court for a homeowner there, a resident, who had shot somebody inside/outside his home.
Okay. And who is that person who shot?
John Miller.
Okay. And who is the victim?
Mr. Quest. I'm drawing a blank on his first name, I apologize.
William?
William Quest.
And during your investigation, what did you do?
I arrived at the scene. I was at the scene for a brief little bit. I looked around the scene. My main involvement was interviewing Mr. Miller.
And after you did the investigation, did you prepare anything?
I did. I prepared an initial report, or a report detailing the steps I took in the investigation.
Okay. Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
Detective Keaton, I'm handing you your, do you know what this is?
Yes, this is the initial crime report, or the report I prepared on exactly what I did at this call.
Is it significant, accurate to the way that it was when you first looked at it?
It is.
Prepared it? Okay. Your Honor, I would like to move this into evidence if there.
Is there an objection from the defense?
Great.
Without objection, it would come in.
Great, thank you. Okay. So, when you arrived there, tell us about the scene, the location, where it was, the things you saw.
It's essentially a townhouse. A townhouse type house. This occurred in the middle unit of a 3-unit building, with Mr. Miller living at 1249 and 1247, I believe, right next door.
And did you, if I can, Your Honor, may I approach?
You may.
Okay. Okay. And do you know what this is?
Yes, this is the diagram that was prepared detailing what I was trying to describe.
Mr. Bides, Is this exhibit marked?
Oh, they're not marked. Sorry, Your Honor. Let me mark them right now. So this would be Exhibit 3 and 2.
And let's go ahead and mark that first one. Sorry, Detective.
And Exhibit 1. Okay, if I can, let's see. Exhibit number 2.
Yes.
Okay. If you can use it just to explain to the jury the location and the area of the scene.
I can. It makes it a little easier because I misspoke. It's 1239 where Mr. Miller lived. That's the center unit of a 3-unit building. 1237 directly to the side and 1241 on the other side. So he was the middle unit of a 3-unit building.
Okay. And do you know who lived next door?
I know to the right, if you're looking at it, the 1237, the victim, Mr. Quest, lived there.
Okay. And when you enter the basement, what did you observe?
In the basement of 1239, there was a sliding glass door that leads to the outside, and then there were 6 shell casings, 2 which were found inside the basement of 1239, and then 4 found outside, almost in a trail or a direction to where the victim was found lying, which was closer to 1241.
Your Honor, may I publish the exhibits that I introduced, 2 and 3?
Have you introduced the exhibits into evidence?
Oh, I'm sorry. So are these a fair and accurate depiction of the homes? as
They
you
are.
found them?
Yes,
And is number 3, exhibit number 3, is that an accurate description, depiction of the shell casings that were found on the scene?
it is, yes.
Your Honor, I would like to move them into evidence this time?
Is there an objection from the defense? At this time, the Commonwealth's Exhibit 2 and 3 will come in as evidence,
Thank you, Your Honor.
and you may publish to the jury.
Thank you. Okay. So these are the shell casings that, and could you explain to the jury the significance of finding these shell casings where they are?
But the shell casings lead, as I said, from inside of 1239, the first 2 found inside, and then they go outside, and as I explained, in a direction towards where the victim was found lying.
During your investigation of the crime scene, did you interview the defendant?
I did.
Your Honor, may I approach?
You may.
Detective, I'm handing you this document. Do you know what it is?
Yes, this is a copy of the statement that I took from Mr. Miller the same morning this occurred, February 14th.
Okay. And you were present at this?
I was, yes.
Okay. And is this report a fair and accurate report of the statements that you took from the defendant?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, I would like to move this document into evidence.
Is
Mark.
this document marked?
Yes, it's number 4, exhibit number 4.
Is there an objection from the defense? The Commonwealth seeks to move into evidence what's been marked as Commonwealth Exhibit 4.
Yes, to foundation, if it hasn't been established that there's a body in it.
This is, why don't you, the attorney's approach? So over the defense's objection, the defendant's statement as exhibit number 4 from the Commonwealth will be admitted as a admission by party opponent.
Thank you, Your Honor. Detective, the defendant, what did he tell you how the crimes occurred?
He said that he was awakened by an alarm going off in the basement area of his home. He went down to check it. He took with him his 9mm semi-automatic handgun. When he got down there, he found somebody, a male subject dressed in just shorts on the outside of his sliding glass door, pulling at the door, trying to get into his home. At one point, he couldn't get in, obviously, because the door was locked, so Mr. Miller unlocked the door, lifted up the, it's a little bar you put the jam of a sliding glass door. I'm not exactly sure what it's called, but he lifted that up, unlocked the door, and he went outside to confront the man. He said he was going to hold them there till the police came. During this confrontation, the man approaches him. He's unarmed, but he approaches him, starts walking towards him. So Mr. Miller retreats into his basement and eventually ends up firing shots, 2 inside the basement. As the man began to leave and walk away, Mr. Miller followed and fired 4 more times, ultimately killing him.
Okay. So where was the body found?
It was found outside, closest to 1241. I believe it's depicted on the diagram, to the rear of 1241.
And did the defendant confess to pulling the trigger and shooting?
Absolutely, he admitted that he fired all 6 shots, yes.
If I can direct you to page 24 of the interview record. In specific question 39. When you were questioning the defendant, did he explain to you what method, if any, he used in order to engage the victim?
Well, we discussed training, experience with firearms, that type of thing, and he did indicate in the statement and to me that he has a military background, so he's been trained with firearms as well as going to gun ranges and stuff and working with the weapons that he owns.
Okay. And did he ever tell you why he needed to shoot the defendant? Hit the victim, as he did?
I mean, we discussed it. I don't know that he explains in detail as to why.
What was the statement that he made to you?
I believe his first words when he saw him outside his door was he was shocked that the man was there. And then as the man followed him into the basement, felt a little bit more threatened.
So, did he tell you why he continued to shoot the victim?
What? Because he was trained, his military training teaches him to shoot until the threat is dead, until the threat is stopped.
Thank you, Detective.
You're welcome.
Ms. Sandoval?
I only have a couple of questions for the detective. With regards to when you interviewed Mr. Miller, did he consent to you interviewing him?
He did. It was completely voluntary.
It was completely voluntary, completely cooperated with the investigation,
100%, yes.
and he even signed a consent form as well, correct?
He did, yes.
Okay. You stated in your report that the townhomes were similar, correct?
Yes.
And when you said similar, detective, what exactly did you mean by similar?
Similar in appearance, similar in the way they're set up.
How about size, Detective?
I would say they're similar in size as well.
Okay, so let's look at these townhouses for a second. 1241.
For the record, Ms. Sokolov, what exhibit is this?
I believe that is Exhibit 2.
Thank
Exhibit
you.
number 2. 1241, Detective. Okay, if you could look at this for me.
Yes, I'm
Detective.
looking at the same.
Okay. Now, this appears to be the larger of the homes, 1241.
It does appear to be a little larger, yes.
And also there appears to be a difference, there's some stairs basically with regards to 1241 when this body is found.
Yes,
Okay, then 1239 is a little bit smaller, right?
I would agree, yes.
No stairs. And then the smallest one, which is where William Quest lives, is even smaller than both of those other.
It appears, yes.
Okay. Is this, to your knowledge, to scale?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay. And with regards to, did you have a key? Because there's only one direction here north. Is there any other? How did you determine anything from this diagram?
When standing in the backyard, facing the houses, true north is to the right.
Did you measure it?
I did not.
Okay, so you did not measure it. Okay. Now let's talk about when you went to the home. When you went to 1239, which is where Mr. Miller lives, was there any carpet in the basement?
There was, yes.
There was carpet. Did you take any samples or did you test? Well, did you take any samples?
I did not personally, but I believe there were samples taken.
But you don't know if there were samples.
I'm not sure, no.
To your knowledge, Detective, was there any testing for any residue on the floor?
I do not know.
Okay, so you have no way of knowing, Detective, on a murder scene, whether or not samples were taken or if there was residue tested?
Well, that would be done by the forensics unit, and like I said, I believe that they did, but I didn't personally do it.
Now, with regards to the door, the sliding glass door, to your knowledge, Detective, did it appear to be standard glass or was it reinforced to your knowledge?
I honestly don't know.
Okay, so you don't know that either, Detective. Are you the detective or the officer who recovered the gun?
From inside the house,
Yes.
that would have been the forensics team.
Did you review it? You didn't review any of these records, Detective?
I did. I reviewed the report about the gun, that the shell casings there were fired. And I reviewed some of the forensics reports, but I can't say that I recalled every detail of every one.
Did you ever see the gun officer?
Did I ever see it? Yes.
All right, I have a couple questions about the casings. All right, so with regards to casings, isn't it possible, Detective, and we're bringing up, you have the diagram, I believe, Detective, it's the one that shows the body with the bullet casings?
Yes.
Okay. You stated that 2 shots were fired in the basement
Yes.
and 4 were fired from outside of possibly the basement.
Yes.
Okay, well, how do you know that?
Well, that's where the shell casings were found. So it is possible that one maybe even 2 additional could have been just inside and the shell casing ejected out, but
Let's explore that for a second. So now, how would that happen, Detective? If someone shoots someone, isn't it possible that it gets caught in their clothes and as they stumble out, casings can...
Objection, Your Honor, speculation.
Okay, so explain how the other bullets could have been fired in a basement.
Again, Your Honor,
Let me hear the
speculation.
full, entire question.
And this is his expert opinion as a police.
This detective has not been laid out as an expert, but let me hear the whole question, please.
The question is, he stated that 2 of them could have been fired in the basement, and then what were the words that you used, projected out? I want to know how that can happen. That's what he just stated. Two more could have been fired in the basement and then projected out. I want to know how that could happen.
Okay, go ahead and answer the question if you know the answer.
and again, I'm not a ballistics expert, but from a semi-automatic handgun, spent shell casings are ejected, forcefully ejected, so there's a distance that they travel.
Okay, and
I mean, there's nothing additional. A spent shell casing from a semi-automatic gun is ejected, so it travels a distance. It could hit something and bounce off, but it's physically ejected from that gun. So if someone is standing right at the threshold, I mean, there's going to be a few feet difference of where it can land.
so it's possible, Detective, that 4 of those shots came from the basement.
From inside?
Yes.
Sure, yes.
Detective, with regards to there's on the evidence report that you reviewed, the ballistics report, talks about 9mm black Talon ammunition. Is that an unusual type of ammunition, or is that common? It's standard for some people to have that.
I don't find it to be uncommon, no.
No further questions.
Thank you. Redirect.
Yes, Your Honor. If I could just direct you again to the shell casings here.
Yes.
So counsel has pointed out that possibly 4 of them might have been shot from the inside. Now, how close to the door are the shots?
The shell casings?
Yes.
On the outside, I mean, I don't have the exact measurements in front of me, but several feet.
Okay. So I don't really know how far these shell casings travel. Is it a foot, 3 feet? In your
Objection,
experience?
speculation. He said he doesn't know.
What's the question that you're asking, Mr. Baez?
How far shell casings travel?
In general or
In general. In his experience, his personal experience as a homicide detective.
Detective, you can answer the question if you know the answer.
I mean, there's no exact answer. It depends on the surface they hit. It depends if they deflect off of anything. It could be anywhere from several inches to several feet.
Okay. During your ground examination, things were pointed out, such as the glass, which I know that you're not an expert on glass. Did any of the points that counsel said you didn't do, were they significant to your,
Objection.
Let me hear the entire question.
were they significant to your investigation in determining the crime scene?
What's the objection?
Calls for conclusion.
No, you can overrule. You can answer the question.
As far as the glass, I mean, there was nothing remarkable about it. It looked like the same standard glass you would see on any sliding glass door.
So because of that, Miller admitted to you that he killed the victim. Was there any ever doubt in your mind about that?
No, he admitted that he shot him, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, is there any recross from the defense?
Actually, if I may, one more.
Yes. And I'll give the defense another opportunity to recross as you're asking to continue your question.
Thank you. Your Honor, may I approach?
You may.
I am handing to the detective exhibits 5 and 6. Detective, could you please tell me what exhibit 5 is?
Exhibit 5 is the ballistics report completed by Detective Rona, just detailing that the shell casings that are depicted in the picture that were found at the scene were fired from the Ruger P85 9mm pistol that was owned and recovered from Mr. Miller.
And did you use that report in order to do this investigation?
Yes.
And the next exhibit?
Exhibit number 6 is a consent to search, the home of 1239 Brown Court, signed by Mr. Miller.
And is your signature at the bottom of that paper?
It is. Mr. Miller's signature appears as well as mine.
Okay. Your Honor, I would like to introduce this into evidence.
Is there an objection from the defense the Commonwealth is seeking to introduce Exhibit 5, the ballistics report, into evidence? And is there an objection from the defense the Commonwealth is seeking to introduce Exhibit 6, the defendant's consent to search his home, into evidence? The exhibits will be received as evidence.
Thank you, Your Honor. And in exhibit number 5, the ballistics report, can you just read the evidence that was gathered so the jury can hear you?
It was a Ruger P85 9mm pistol
And who did that gun belong to?
that belonged to Mr. Miller.
And was that the gun used to shoot the victim, William Quest?
It was, yes. There was also an empty magazine for the P85 9mm that I just mentioned.
And what does that mean, an empty magazine?
The magazine is what the shells would be put into. The magazine's then inserted into the gun. That's what enables the gun to fire.
So if it's empty, does it mean that there were any other guns there? And bullets?
You mean the fact that the magazine was empty?
Yes.
It means that we took the ammunition out of it. There had been ammunition in it.
Thank you.
Item number 3 is 9mm black Talon ammunition. And then items 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 are the spent shell casings that were found at the scene that are depicted with the red X's in the photo.
Thank you. Your Honor, I would like to just move, I'm not sure if I did, move all of the evidence so that I can publish them to the jury.
You may.
Thank you. And that will be all.
Is there any cross-examination from the defense? Re-cross-examination.
Detective, I just have one question. Can you explain to the jury, speaking about the Ruger P85, how this gun functions, double action, single action? Can you explain that?
It's
Objection beyond the scope.
How's that beyond the scope?
No, wait, let me rule on the objection. The objection is respectfully overruled. The Commonwealth asked the detective about the Ruger P85, and the defense can cross-examine on that.
Thank you.
Will it help if we show you a picture of it, officer?
It would, yes.
Detective, I'm sorry. How does this gun function?
It can fire either, you said by action, single or double action with the hammer in the back. The first shot, when properly loaded, would be a double action shot requiring more trigger pressure. If you cocked the hammer back, it would be single shot, single action. It would require less trigger pressure.
And can you explain what single shot and it's for the jury?
Double action, single action means if the hammer's down like it is in the photo, it's actually bringing the hammer back and then dropping it forward, so it's considered double action. If the hammer's already cocked back, all you do is squeeze the trigger, the hammer flies forward, it's considered single action.
Is it easier to fire a single action?
It requires less pressure on the trigger to fire that, yes.
Okay. So it says on the ballistics report that the trigger pull was measured to be 9.2 pounds. Right?
Yes, it does.
You just testified there's two types, so what's the measurement of the second?
I don't know, I didn't complete this report, I'm just reading Detective Roder's work.
So then the report could be incomplete because there's only,
Objection, Your Honor. He just said he doesn't know.
Let me hear Ms. Sokolow's entire question before you answer, Detective.
he stated there's two. There's only one listed here. If it wasn't tested for the second, how is this a complete report?
No, Ms. Sokolow, what's your question? The question began with, so this might not be a complete.
Is this a complete report based on what you just testified to today?
I didn't complete the report, so I have no idea.
No further questions.
Thank you. Is there anything else from this witness?
No.
Okay, Detective, you're excused. Thank you. Commonwealth, please call your next witness.
We'd like to call Mr. Martin.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Please state your name for the record.
My name is Gail Martin.
You may proceed.
Thank you for being here, Mr. Martin. Can you please tell the jury who you are?
My name is, again, Gail Martin. I live at 1241 Brown Court, so one of the adjacent homes.
And do you know the defendant here today?
I do. He's my neighbor. He lives directly next door, 1239.
Okay. And do you know the victim?
I do also. He lives one house over, and who's with his parents. His parents still live there in 1237.
And did you see the victim, William Quest, that early morning of February 14th?
I did. So we'll start with Friday. It was Friday, February 13th. I was up watching TV. It was Friday. I watch a lot of Netflix. So I was up late, and I heard Billy. I'll call him. I refer to him as Billy. Mr. Quest pull in at, I guess, early morning Saturday around 2:30 a.m. I was still up watching TV, and I heard the car pull in at that point in time. I'm like, who's this? So I went and looked out my window.
Great. And what was the condition that night?
It was very clear, very bright. Combination of street lights and a full moon. Very easy to see. It's clear.
Do you know if the defendant knew the victim?
I believe he did. Certainly, I'd seen them interacting.
Okay, thank you. That will be on you.
Thank you. Cross-examination. I'm sorry, are you finished?
Yes,
Mr.
I am.
Myers? Cross-examination.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You indicated that you lived in this same block.
Still live.
You still do, okay? And the Martin family, they still live there as well?
Well, I am divorced, and I have a daughter, and she lives with me.
I'm sorry, I was just curious.
Oh, I apologize, Your Honor. She lives with me during the week, but on the weekends, my ex-wife has custody.
Okay. Now, you testified that you observed the decedent when you came into the neighborhood that night around 2:30.
Yes, I saw her at first, but I went to look out and I saw Billy park his car on the curb and then proceeded to his house.
Right, and when you observed Billy, was this the first time that you observed him coming in that time of night?
No.
Something that you did pretty regularly, you agree with that?
Yes, I would agree with that. Yeah, he liked, he's a fun guy. He liked to drink. He would come home after the bars closed around, 2's a normal bar closing hour.
Okay. And on that particular night, his demeanor, staggering.
Yeah, I would definitely characterize it as, sort of stagger. Yeah.
Okay. And he was still able, however, to discern which house he went to, and he went to that house, from what you can see.
Which house?
His house.
He did go to his house. Yes.
Now, you said that this wasn't the first time. How many times would you say you've seen Billy, as you referred to him, come staggering in?
Geez, it's hard. I mean, this is...
Objection, Your Honor, relevance?
He's referred to him as Billy. It's the defense's position that the observations on the particular night in question, in particular, what he recalled has been colored by his relationship with the decedent.
His direct never went into that.
Hold on, let me, Mr. Goodman.
We're attempting to explain so that the jury has a complete view of the relationship that exists between this witness and the young man who attempted to enter my client's house that night.
Mr. Myers, what's your response?
The relationship and seen coming in at night, that doesn't establish a relationship. That only establishes that he saw something.
Okay, I'm going to sustain the objection, but Mr. Goodman, if you can tie it up to something relevant or rephrase the question, go ahead.
Now, Billy, as you so described, you've seen him out at the bars before, correct?
I mean, we frequent at least one bar that I've seen him at that I was also at.
Okay, that would be the Mini-Men's.
Over in East Wales, yes.
Straight shot from both of your homes.
About 10 minutes away.
And besides that, you and Billy, as you so described, would have conversations periodically, correct?
Periodically, he was only living at the house, for about 4 months, so I had spoken to him on more than one occasion.
Okay. And you had I'll rephrase the question. Your relationship with Billy, you consider yourselves friends?
I wouldn't go that far. He was only there for 4 months. I mean, yeah, I guess,
Okay.
sure. For someone that, I knew
Someone
a
that you
little
could
bit.
chat with.
Sure,
See on the street, you may have a conversation with.
sure.
In
yes.
fact, you invited him into your house on occasion.
Sure.
So, that having been said, on previous occasions when you observed him coming in, staggering, but again, he was able to go to his house.
Yes.
Now, in addition to seeing him staggering in, did you also have occasion to observe Billy, as you so described, doing other things in the rear portion of this complex?
Yeah, I have, if you're referring to him going to the wooded area to go to the bathroom to relieve himself, I have witnessed that on more than one occasion. My understanding is that Billy lives in the basement portion of his parents' house. They have an apartment there for him. And the way the basements are built in the whole housing complex, there are no bathrooms in the basement. So, I'm up late a lot, and sometimes I'll see Billy walk out to the woods to go to the bathroom because I don't know why he does that, but he does it.
And Billy, just so that the jury has a complete view of this young man, how big is he?
I mean, bigger than me certainly. 6 something, 300 pounds sounds about right.
Pretty good shape.
Well, no. 300 pounds, 6'2". I wouldn't call that good shape. But, yeah, I don't know.
Could be a college lineman. You agree?
Objection, Your Honor, speculation.
Sustain.
Now, on the occasions you said that you would watch him go out into the woods, I believe the term that you used is you said you would watch him go out there and use the restroom. Correct?
I think we
Objection.
established that. Yeah, he was
What's the
relieving himself.
objection? Excuse me, Mr. Martin, there's an objection. What's the objection?
It's fine. Yeah. All right. What's the... Yeah.
And how far of a distance would he walk from his house to the woods?
Oh, geez, I'm sorry. I'm really bad at estimating distances.
All right, well, then I'll rephrase the question, understanding that. It would take you more than, say, 30 seconds to do this. You agree?
Walking, yes, sure.
And you would sit there and watch it the entire time.
No. I've seen it happen. Certainly the first time, I was wondering what this kid's doing. And so after I figured out what he was doing, and I noticed it on other occasions, I didn't watch the whole time though.
So you're saying now you didn't watch the other occasions, you just kind of guessed when you would see him walking toward the woods?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't always catch it as soon as he opened the door or whatever, but yeah, sure.
One moment, Your Honor. And how long has my client lived next to you?
I believe somewhere in the vicinity of 3 years, maybe, so at this point 5 years.
And how do you feel about the military?
Objection, Your Honor. What relevance does it have? What opinions do you have of the military?
What's the relevance?
For me, Your Honor, it's the defense's position that some of the testimony in question is colored by his view of the military, which affects my client directly as a honorably discharged.
Bias?
That's correct.
Overruled.
Sir?
And no speaking objections.
Sir?
Can you repeat the question?
What's your view of the military?
I have no problem with people who serve in the military. I think sometimes the military accomplishes good things.
And sometimes.
I mean, I think, you know, for the most part, I trust that, I mean, it's, you know, the U.S. military, I would say the U.S. military for the most part is out there doing good things, yes.
One moment, Your Honor. What relationship did you have with Billy's family?
I've known them longer because they lived there. They lived there and Billy moved back about 4 months later, 4 months before this incident.
So would you say you have a better relationship with his family?
Only
as opposed
that I
to
know them.
clients?
Sorry, could you, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Did you have a better relationship with his family versus my client's family?
Definitely.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Is there a redirect?
Yes, Your Honor. Being that we're on the topic of relationships, what is your relationship with the defendant?
Well, he's my neighbor, and you know, I characterize as one of those sitcom relationships, neighborhoods. There's always that one in the neighborhood, you know.
And by
One-
one in an
Sustained.
Objection.
Sustained. Characterizes.
Okay.
Rephrase your question. Be careful what the answer is going to be.
Can you describe your prior interactions?
Sure.
Objection vague. What we're talking about, prior interactions.
Okay, why don't you counsel approach?
Just one last question. Is it a crime to pee in the woods?
Not that I'm aware of.
Thank you. Oh, is it a dangerous thing to pee in the woods?
No.
Thank you.
Is there a recross?
Just based on that, Your Honor.
Sure, go ahead, Mr. Goodman.
And on those occasions that you observed Billy peeing in the woods, those were times when he was intoxicated, at least according to what you observed with the stuntman, correct?
I didn't say that every time he peed in the woods he was intoxicated.
All right, so I'll get to the point. On the occasions, on this particular night when you saw him staggering, that was after he got out of a car, correct?
Yes.
And was driving a car dangerous in that condition? Based on what you
Objection,
can
Your
see?
Honor. Not the danger of driving.
I'm going to sustain the objection. You can rephrase or.
Rephrase it. Would you agree that driving a car while intoxicated is a dangerous thing?
It's definitely against the law, yes.
But is it dangerous?
Driving while intoxicated can be very dangerous, yes.
Thank you.
Anything based on those questions, Mr. Lyons?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Is there anything else of this witness?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Martin, your excuse, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's take a 5-minute break before our next witness. The jury, you can leave the courtroom and take 5 minutes for yourselves. Please don't talk to any of the attorneys, and please don't talk to each other about this case. Thanks.